Welcome to today's mini tutorial. I'm your host, Heather Clayton Staker, founder of Ready to Blend, where we strive to make student-driven learning simpler. Today's topic is becoming a growth mindset school or district. We'll talk about how successful schools and districts and other organizations that want to innovate are good at becoming growth mindset oriented, what a growth mindset even is, and how to nurture growth mindset in your school or district. When I think about the importance of growth mindset, I'm reminded of my son, Henry, who when he was 7, 8 years old, really struggled with this why try attitude. He felt like he was bad at earning academic points and he was bad at being organized. He was good at art and he felt like he was really good at bearded dragons. And he didn't think any of that was changeable. And so he felt like, why try? Because he felt like he was locked in to certain gifts and certain areas where he wasn't very strong. And so together we worked to create a why try bingo chart where he got points each time that he showed behaviors that evidenced an intention to make progress and that were the opposite of why try. And as he did that, he started getting better at getting academic badges. In fact, he has loads of academic badges today. He's still not terribly organized, but usually he can at least find his shoes in the morning, so he's making progress. But I think sometimes that organizations can get into a similar slump where a school might think, this is how we do teaching and learning here, and this is how we do it. And they don't really feel like they can necessarily improve against their weaknesses. They feel like this is who we are, and this is what we're good at some things, and we're not as good at other things, and that's how it is. And so today we're going to focus on how to improve and become more of a growth mindset-oriented organization. Why is that important? Well, when an entire organization or district becomes growth mindset, what happens is that the teachers and administrators feel far more empowered and committed. And so they receive greater support for collaboration and innovation. And the studies show this again and again. Whereas when a district feels less growth mindset oriented, then the teachers feel worried about collaborating and they aren't as oriented towards innovation. Modeling a growth mindset is one of the most powerful things that teachers and leaders can do to lay the foundation for innovation and achievement at their schools. What is a growth mindset anyway? So Stanford psychologist and professor Carol S. Dweck said that individuals with a growth mindset believe that their talents can be developed through hard work, through good strategies, input from others. They see their effort as the path toward mastery, so they persist through setbacks. And then in contrast, she identified people with a fixed mindset as those who see their talents as unchangeable, their gifts. This is who I am, this is what I've got, and they're more likely to give up. And what we've identified is that organizations can become this way, and it really slows down and inhibits innovation. Today, we're going to look at 7 attitudes to improve your growth mindset at your organization. Travis Bradbury wrote a great article for Forbes that said why attitude is more important than IQ. And he borrowed a lot of the ideas from Carol Dweck. And he identified 7 attitudes that correspond to growth mindset. Not being helpless, being passionate, taking action, going the extra mile, expecting results, being flexible, and not complaining when things don't go your way. Today, we're joined by 7 wonderful Ready to Blend facilitators as well as other facilitators in the Ready to Blend community to talk about and discuss these 7 attitudes. So I invite you to join me today and listen in on this discussion and then use it in your own organization to spur a conversation internally around your own growth mindset, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and how you can amplify growth mindset so that you're more prepared to collaborate, to take risks, and to innovate. First up today is Amanda Perry. She's the Digital Learning Support Specialist for Team Digital in Arkansas, and she'll talk to us about Attitude 1, not being helpless. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you, Heather. So people with an attitude of not being helpless generally think thoughts such as, I hit moments when I feel helpless, but I don't give up, and I can learn from setbacks and get up, and I can work through my problems. So someone in my organization who stands out to me because of their skill with attitude is Kathy Swan. Ms. Kathy Swan is the director of the Arkansas River Educational Service Cooperative, and she has been monumental in her promotion of student-focused learning in Arkansas. She works very hard to promote blended learning as the foundation to move toward personalized learning throughout schools and districts in our state, but she's faced this setback that I'm sure many, if not all of you, might have faced, which is just the reluctance to change and implement more student voice and choice into learning. But she was facing promoting this at a statewide level. And so when you think about that, statewide level changes, it could be impossible if you were to have an helpless attitude. But luckily, Miss Swan does not have that type of attitude, and she was determined and continued her mission. And through years of hard work and dedication and a positive attitude, she was able to overcome and work through many problems that were facing the lack of flexibility for our students in our state, and played a major role in many policy changes that have allowed our state to become more student focused. So I'd like to open it up to you now. And do you know someone who really models this type of attitude? And what do they do to be so strong in this area?
So it's our turn now. Everyone else who's participating in this call, let's respond to Amanda's question. Who else can you think of who really evidences that attitude of not being helpless? And what do you think that they're doing? What do they do that helps them be so strong in that way?
I'll pop in here and just say I've thought of a couple people at work who do it, but I have a son who's 20 who is a musician, and I have just been amazed as he's grown up. He leads a band. He's learned to play so many instruments, and if he sees someone doing something, he just he Googles it, he YouTubes it, he figures out how to do it. And don't think I've ever heard him say those words. I don't think I can do that, and that's I think is a really powerful thing. And so I think often our students and our children become our teachers. I think that's a case of that for me.
YouTube has certainly enabled a lot of people to feel more powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Tom. Okay, so that's the first attitude we've discussed today. So second one, be passionate. And here to talk to us about that is Kathleen Tergrosa, Coordinator of Teacher Professional Development at Cranston Public Schools, who will lead us through Attitude 2.
Hi. So people with an attitude of being passionate generally think of such thoughts like, whatever I lack in talent, I make up for in passion, or I'm really relentless about the things that I care most about. I'm really glad that Heather asked me to talk about passion, because this is an attitude that I have come to realize is one of my strengths. My passion for supporting colleagues, professional learning over the series of decades has allowed me to move forward in my profession. And I see the same thing with other colleagues. Their passions in educational issues has moved them forward as teacher leaders. And I think you can all name people who do that. It's the passion that allows us to grow. I truly believe, and I have witnessed how a person's passion equates to persistence, grit, whatever you want to call it, all those mindset attitudes. But that passion then transovers to an increase in confidence. The confidence then increases performance. Passion, I think, leads us to desire wanting to learn more. And isn't that what we want in education? Our kids to want to learn more. And I think that's the passion will lead to that. Learning more improves the capacity to perform your own passions better. And again, passion increases confidence, willing to try. I think you can think of anybody that has a passion about a particular hobby, and those people are successful in their hobbies because they're passionate about it. They keep trying. They keep trying to overcome their obstacles. To me, a person that exemplifies using passion and relentless determination is someone who doesn't let challenges defeat them, but rather uses challenges to learn from, to expand their own thinking, to consider the views of others, and then recommit to their passion and to their project at hand. They use those challenges to kind of refocus and move beyond. I had a student recently that comes to mind with this passion piece, who many thought could not independently do a task that required her to do some oral speaking. She's a selective mute. But the task was designed to feed into one of her passions. And as a result, huge surprise to us all, when it came to the point of her having to do the oral speaking into a Flipgrid, she did it all on her own. She did not have her iPad speak for her. We tapped into her passion, and she used that as a motivator to do the work. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are, and where you see people with passions and how you think passion has increased people's capacity or students' capacity to overcome challenges and get the work done.
I really love how you phrase that, Kathleen, the idea that having passion actually increases our capacity. That's a new thought.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else feel like they already live by that motto, or is that a new thought for you as well?
I totally agree with you, Kathleen, on that I feel like anytime I see someone who I can tell that they have all that passion, and you're just watching them, you're either a part of their professional development, or you're watching them teach, or it's students who you're watching do it. It to me, that's exactly what I see as well, is that capacity, that confidence, that drive, and it's the passion that helps create that. So I agree with that, and I loved that you said that.
It's a really powerful thought to just keep in mind, that if I feel inadequate, I can remember that I always can use my passion, my personal just relentlessness and conviction to overcome. That's a really powerful thought to me. Next up is Michael Dowling, a director at Franklin Covey, who will lead us through Attitude 3, Take Action.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. People with an attitude of taking action generally think thoughts such as, I can overcome fear and anxiety by taking action. I know there's no truly perfect moment to move forward, so I don't wait. Someone in my organization who stands out to me because of their skill with Attitude 3 is Brigham Kelly. Brigham is responsible for creating blended learning content for Franklin Covey Education. And to me, Brigham exemplifies taking action because he had to face a daunting task, and that was translating one of our flagship products into blended learning content. And he was up against some fairly significant entrenchment and decades-long paradigms that he had to push through. And one of his greatest fears was, how do I have a conversation with those people that have been the stakeholders of this content for a very long time? And one of the things he did to push through that fear was he started asking questions of those stakeholders. And those questions led to answers that gave him greater confidence. And it was that confidence that helped him to continue to take action. So my question for you today is, have you seen any successful strategies for helping people develop the attitude of take action? And if so, what can you do to nurture this attitude in others?
Michael, that's such an important question. How can we nurture that attitude? Because I think so many of us face organizations that are entrenched in old systems, just like your colleague Brigham faced. And so it's interesting to me that you felt like his inclination to take action was what helped him overcome that entrenched spirit in the group he was with. Have any of you seen, to Michael's question, strategies for helping people be more proactive?
One of the strategies I've seen just in my work at the district level is when you get players from all levels, meaning teacher, administrator, other roles, together around a table, and whoever's leading the conversation releases the flow of the conversation back to everyone, so that everyone feels like they have a say, and really building that empowerment. A lot of times I've seen in my school district work where teachers feel like they can't do something because someone above them will say differently, or they have a plan to go a different direction. And I think that the powerful conversations that have happened is where the leaders have turned the conversation back over to the teachers.
That's a great start. Love it, Chad. Thank you. All right, now for Attitude 4, we'll hear from Carol Neff, Blended Learning Supervisor at Davis County Schools, who will lead us through Attitude 4, Go the Extra Mile.
So people that have this attitude of going the extra miles typically have thoughts like, I can give it my all even on my very worst days, and I can get a little better each day. And someone in my organization that I think really exemplifies this particular attitude is my director, Belinda Cook. She, as I watch her every day, she is amazing at all of the things that she does. And what I notice the most is that for her, it's a constant, what is the absolute most important thing that I need to do? And with that most important thing to do, even though I might not feel that great today, I'm going to go do it because I know it needs to be done. And I can just keep getting better at what I'm doing. She is also very contagious with how she goes about going the extra mile for people and making sure that people are getting the help that they need, that they're getting what they need. And that goes for principals, teachers, and students, no matter who she interacts with. And I love that she's contagious with it, because as I'm watching her, then I feel like, okay, I need to do that same thing. She's an amazing example of it. And to be a person like that, where your example is contagious, I think is really an important thing. So the question that I have to throw back out to the group is, how about you? Do you know someone who has this attitude, and what do they do to be so strong in this area?
I think when I think about the go to extra mile, it makes me reflect on the team that I work with at Wisconsin Virtual School. I think that some of the previous attitudes that have been discussed as far as passion all leads into this extra mile. If you don't have passion for the work you're doing, if you don't see the big picture of the benefits to students and educators, you won't go that extra mile. So I think of teamwork and the team that I surround myself with as going the extra mile, or we wouldn't get the work done that we do and as successfully as we do.
It really builds the team, and I liked how Carol said that it's contagious. I like the thought that it's self-healing, that as you think, I can give it my all, even on my worst days, that's self-healing. But not only self-healing, but it actually is contagious in a positive way to the rest of the organization, and to your point, Dawn, to the whole team. Attitude 5, expect results. We'll hear from John Ostreet, Associate Director of Wisconsin Virtual School.
Thanks, Heather. People with an attitude of expect results generally think thoughts such as, I can expect success, I'm going to fail from time to time, but overall, I expect to be successful. Someone in my organization who stands out to me because of their skill with Attitude 5 is Ann Ward. Ann recently arrived at Wisconsin Virtual School to facilitate high school English with a background as an adjunct professor at Marquette University. The following example of Ann's attitude of expect results literally occurred within the last 24 hours. Ann sent an email and asked, I've graded my first assessments and I keep feeling like I want more personal contact with each student. I'm giving lots of feedback on the assessments and have allowed retries. As a mentor to Ann, my response was, this was all awesome and the way feedback ought to be provided. Smiley face emoji. Ann continued, but can you suggest ways to remove the antiseptic nature of the computer program and personalize the instruction? I responded to Ann's questions with 4 to 5 more ideas for how she could personalize instruction. She was so grateful that she replied, thank you, John, your suggestions are spot on. To me, that really showed someone who expects results. She knows she is going to be successful if she keeps searching and trying. Now, I am a bit leery to be so direct with suggestions, yet Ann's attitude of expect results were verified with her response on the suggestions about being spot on. My question to our group today is, what can we do to nurture this attitude of expect results in others?
It's a great question, John. So often when we fail, we think, typical, I usually fail. And with a growth mindset, instead we think, I'm going to fail from time to time, but overall, I can expect to have a successful life. How can we nurture that attitude in others?
Can I jump in here? I would say that it's one of those things that we try and teach kids. It's okay to fail, and then to get up from that and set a new learning goal. So when I'm doing project-based learning, for example, and I'm trying to build a bridge, and the bridge falls down on my first try, that some people could say that's a failure, but if you're in this growth mindset world, you say, good try, let's set a new learning goal. How can we fix that issue so that doesn't happen again? And let's move on from there. So I think it's getting kids to accept that failure is a really good part of the learning process. And that helps us with our problem solving skills that we can take to the next opportunity and the next learning adventure.
Isn't it so funny that we can see it so clearly how children need that attitude, and yet as adults, we don't practice what we preach.
Right.
Next attitude, number 6, be flexible. Let's hear from Chad Kafka, Technology Integration Specialist at Franklin Public Schools.
Thank you. People with an attitude of be flexible generally think thoughts such as, I can see adversity as a means for improvement, not as something that holds me back. I am powerful enough to overcome unexpected challenges. Someone in my organization who stands out to me because of their skill with attitude 6 is one of our teachers, Lauren Zambraz. Lauren decided to do more of an enriched virtual class this year, and she teaches business ed courses, and she was looking to teach a software applications course in an enriched virtual environment, which meant that she would see the students some of the time face-to-face, but most of the time they would be released to do the class online through a system we use called Buzz. So this software applications course was where students would also get certified in using programs like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, the Microsoft Office suite, basically. The only problem that this had in our planning was that our students all had one-to-one Chromebooks. And so being able to do the Office application certifications on the Chromebooks didn't exactly flow very well. So as we were laying this all out and trying to figure out what this would look like within the structures of the school day, that didn't stop Lauren. Like, she was able to be flexible, and we came up with some ideas around that. One idea that we had was the students, because of their scheduling, they would take that course for themselves in whatever class hour was open. And so we had them report to the library, and then we set up a Windows laptop card where the students could check things out if they needed to, work when they needed to during that class hour. Lauren also was flexible enough to provide help hours where needed in her classroom. Students could come to see her for extra help, or if they needed to take a test to move on to the next part of the course. She also taught them file transfer procedures. So if they were working on some things that they could on one Windows laptop, saving them to somewhere in the cloud and then pull them down onto another machine. So she really thought around all avenues for what the students would need in order for them to be successful in the course. So what had been adversity to use existing, what had been adversity for executing the course, challenged us to think creatively around that situation. So with that, my question for the group today is, what can we do to develop that attitude in ourselves so that we can be more capable of modeling it for others? How can we be more flexible?
So I immediately thought of our coaches that work with our online students, thinking about how whenever a extenuating circumstance comes up or a challenging issue comes up with a student, that we try to see it as a learning opportunity in order to be more responsive to what that student needs and what we can provide them. And so being flexible is really important when we're thinking student to student, instead of trying to apply a general rule of thumb to every situation. I think it's helpful for our coaches and students themselves to see the opportunities in being flexible.
Thank you, Mary Tunison. That was a great comment. Let's move to attitude 7. Don't complain when things don't go your way. We'll hear from Amber DeGaizo, Measurement and Assessment Coach at Special School District in St. Louis County.
Great, thanks. So people with an attitude of don't complain when things don't go your way generally are thinking thoughts such as, I can see opportunity in everything. So right away, as I was thinking about someone that I know that embodies this, I immediately thought of the director of my department, which is our planning and development department in the district, Chris. And I can think of a lot of examples of times that she's done this, but one really specific one was a few years ago when she had applied for another position in our district. Didn't get that job, which is a common thing in education. I mean, there's lots of times we have to deal with that in our career. And I think she modeled so nicely, not being frustrated, not complaining about the person that did get that position, but really just refocusing on the opportunities for impacting staff and students in our district in her current position, and just really continue to lead our group with grace and really focus on how can we innovate in our department and in our locus of control. And honestly, I think so lucky for us, she's such a gifted leader and skilled and knowledgeable, just so gifted in professional learning and promoting what's best for kids that it certainly was one of those situations. I think it worked out in the best possible way, and really because of her attitude. Again, not even the not complaining piece so much, but just more seeing opportunity where she was. So with that in mind, what about you all? Do you know someone who models this attitude, and how are they strong in this area?
It's really interesting because it's a skill set, isn't it? I don't know that it's necessarily innate for most people. I think some people just have this skill that they've cultivated of seeing opportunity instead of going straight towards complaining.
Sure.
So I will jump in. Sorry, 2 in a row for me. But Beth Clark is someone who immediately comes to mind for me when thinking about Attitude 7. She was our supervisor here in Madison for a few years, and now she's working with CISA too. And she's just, I think she embodies this approach where trying to find the silver lining, trying to see, when a door closes, a window opens, that kind of thing. She just really exemplifies it, and it positively impacted everyone that she was supervising and everyone who she came in contact with, because there was always an opportunity to at least, nudge a little bit here or improve a little bit there versus like shutting down and feeling like you had nowhere to go. So definitely Beth Clark.
Thanks, Mary. And thanks to all of you who've participated today. I am personally very inspired by your real life examples of people who are modeling these attitudes, because they prove to me that this is possible and that some people do have these skills, and that we also can cultivate these skills and these mindsets, and that as we do, we'll be more collaborative and our organizations will be more successful in our innovation efforts. For everyone who's watching this or thinking about this issue right now of cultivating a growth mindset organization, one early next step that I could suggest is to at least start the discussion. At least start the discussion with your organization, and you could begin with some reflection questions like, which of these 7 attitudes are your strengths? Which do you see as your weaknesses? Which one do you most want to improve? And which one, if improved, will yield the greatest impact on our school or on our district or on our organization? Thank you for joining us today for our conversation about becoming a growth mindset organization and replacing a why try attitude that sometimes can permeate our organizations with a try attitude. You'll be amazed at how powerful you can be in your growth. Thank you very much.